Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 4th of March 2022. Hope you're all well. I've got my special guest with me today, as you can see, Mr. Potato Head. So if he wants to intervene, I'm sure he will. But just wants to make you sure that we're aware that he actually is behind me while I'm recording this in a slightly different position to normal. So plenty to get through this week as always. We'll start with the football as usual. Looking back at last weekend's Premier League fixtures first of all, and Manchester City had a slightly controversial 1-0 victory at Everton last Saturday, winning 1-0. The big talking point from the game was a penalty. It wasn't given for Everton towards the end of the game, where Rodri handled the ball. It's now come to light that perhaps the right decision wasn't reached. Everton were very angry at the time, and the head of referees, Mike Riley, has apologised to Everton since, suggesting that it's not just this decision, but several decisions that Everton have had against them recently. So maybe they were a bit fortunate, but City won 1-0, so it puts them 6 points clear again at the top of the table, because Liverpool weren't in league action last weekend. They were playing the Carabao Cup final. I'll come on to that in a moment. City extend their lead at the top for now. Manchester United surprisingly were held to a 0-0 draw at Old Trafford by Watford. Had all the game, couldn't quite put the ball in the net. They're still in fourth place, but they're under massive pressure for that position now, because West Ham and Arsenal are both breathing down the neck, and to a lesser degree Tottenham as well. West Ham beating Wolves 1-0 in a very tight game, which puts West Ham into fifth place now, and they're right on the tail, like I say, as Arsenal have got 3 games in hand on both sides. I think Manchester United 2 points clear of both teams, but West Ham have played the same number of games as Manchester United, but Arsenal have got 3 games in hand, and they again weren't in action last weekend because they were scheduled to play Chelsea, who were again in action in the Carabao Cup final. There was a good result for for Tottenham at Leeds. They won 4-0, and that game precipitated the demise, unfortunately, of Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds. He has left the club the following day, and he's been replaced by the American coach Jesse Marsch. I'll be interested to see how Jesse Marsch gets on. His first appointment in the Premier League, obviously comes with a great reputation from his time. I think he was at Red Bull Leipzig, but you'd have to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's where he was. Quite a few coaches, I think Ralph Hasenhüttl was there as well, so they've got a history of good coaches. Germany has a history of good coaches. I mean, obviously, Man United aren't perhaps at the best at the moment, but Rangnick's obviously got a good reputation as well, and we've seen what happened with Klopp as well, so we've got some good German coaches coming through the system. So there you go. That's what happened at the top of the table. At the bottom of the table, Newcastle had a really important 2-0 victory at Brentford. Josh De Silva was sent off for about 11 to 12 minutes for Brentford, and that probably put the end to the game. Any chance they have to win in the game go at that point. But Newcastle 2-0 win. Joe Linton, I believe, scored the first goal, and that's one of his first goals this season. But he's been playing in a more midfield role where he's been excelling recently, but he scored this time, so that's good for him. It might boost his confidence again. They're up to 14th in the table, Newcastle, and sort of relative safety, I suppose. So the rest of the team below them now are all scrapping away. Burnley lost on Tuesday night at home to Leicester 2-0. Game that saw the return from injury of Jamie Vardy. Came on with 15 minutes to go or so, as did James Maddison. They both scored. Vardy scored in the 90th minute. I think Maddison scored 81st minute, 2-0. Leicester eased them up to 12th above Villa in 13th. Villa had a good result at Brighton, winning 2-0 last Saturday as well. So it's a bit of a scrap at the bottom there. Norwich and Watford still look primed to go down, but they've thought like 4. I think Newcastle are going to get out now, so it's between Leeds, Everton, Burnley, and I think they're going to struggle to get out. One of them's going to go down, I think. So Brentford, the other team, have dropped down below Newcastle after their defeat. So Brentford haven't won for a while, so they could be in a bit of trouble. I think they're at Norwich tomorrow as well, so that's going to be a big game for those two teams. Talking of this weekend's game, there's 5 games on TV if you've got Sky or BT this weekend. We've got Leicester against Leeds at 12:30 on BT Sport tomorrow, Saturday lunchtime. Then a tea time game is Liverpool West Ham, another big game in the chase for the top 4 and for the title in the case of Liverpool. On Sunday we have 2 games. We've got Watford against Arsenal at 2 o'clock. Then 4:30 it's the Manchester derby at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City take on Manchester United. United have had the upper hand in recent league victories, league meetings, should I say. So, are we going to see the same again, or are City going to consolidate a place at the top of the table? But either way, it should be a really good match. Having said that, it'll probably not be 0-0. And then the final TV game, Monday Night Football, returns, and it's Tottenham against Everton. Again, Tottenham been a bit hit and miss recently. Knocked out of the FA Cup during midweek. That's not great for them. they've had some. They obviously went to Manchester City about 2 weeks ago now, but they're not quite at the peak of the game at the moment. Very hit and miss. So maybe it's because the new players haven't blended in quite yet. You know, Bessenker's injured, and Kulusevski's looked quite good. I've got to say from what I've seen of him so far. But we'll see how they get on at home to Everton. Everton need the points. They won last night in the FA Cup against Bournemouth 2-0. They struggled to break them down in the first half, but they weren't playing the full team, to be fair to them. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. But that's what's going on at the moment in the Premier League. Moving on from that to the Carabao Cup final. My next door neighbour got tickets. Him and his son were fortunate enough to get tickets to go and see his beloved Liverpool at Wembley last Sunday. And it was all worth the effort, he said in the end. It was 0-0, although it was an entertaining 0-0. Went to penalties, and everybody scored all the penalties until it got to the goalkeepers. Kevin Kelleher scored his for Liverpool to put them ahead, and then Kepa blasted his into space. And they lost 11-10 on penalties on Chelsea. So Liverpool were victorious. So well done to Liverpool on lifting the first piece of domestic silverware this season. It may not be the last. We'll see how it goes over the rest of the season. Elsewhere, FA Cup last week or so, the midweek games have just been completed in the last 16, and we've seen a surprise in Middlesbrough beating Tottenham 1-0 after extra time. Well deserved victory. I've got to say, I've watched most of that game, and Middlesbrough played really well. They probably could have won by more. There are a couple of free headers. What I can remember off the top of my head from Matt Crooks, he should have scored. He put it wide, so that was one thing that Middlesbrough could have actually taken the game in normal time, but they took it all the way to extra time, did Tottenham, and eventually Middlesbrough scored. Josh Coburn, a young 19-year-old striker, scored a fantastic finish, powered it past Hugo Lloris for the victory. So Middlesbrough through to the next round, and they've been drawn against Chelsea in the next round, so that should be a good match. The quarter-final draw, Crystal Palace have got Everton. Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest haven't played their game yet. They're playing on Monday. They've got Liverpool at home, whoever wins that one. We've mentioned that Middlesbrough Chelsea won, and then we've got Southampton against Manchester City. So that was a draw made last night before the Everton Bournemouth game. So yeah, some good games there to look forward to, and most of the big guns are still in. So yeah, we could ideally, I think people will want to see a Liverpool Manchester City final, I would have thought, so they can go head to head and see who is the best team out of the two, not just in a league match, but for an actual trophy. We've seen Chelsea Man City several times recently, but Liverpool Man City would be good to see again in a final. That's just my opinion, of course. Elsewhere in the National League, Halifax had a good 1-0 victory last Saturday on in the difficult circumstances. The pitch, Oz has worked so hard on the pitch to make it suitable to play on, and he did a great job. He still weren't the best, but you can't do anything about that. And they beat Barnet 1-0 to keep maintain the playoff push. I think they're 5th or 6th at the moment. I haven't looked at the table after the last couple of nights, but they're still in there. Chesterfield had a vital win as well midweek. They were 1-0 down at home to Notts County. They ended up winning 3-1 thanks to 2 goals from Lawrence Maguire and a 90th minute penalty by Asante after having been behind. So in a way, I was hoping for a draw at that game, but in hindsight, we have 3 games in hand on Chesterfield now, so we can still pass them on merit, and we have a game in hand on Notts County, and we're still above them, so that works out well. Bournemouth would have still got lots of games to play. They're in 4th place at the moment, but I think the number of games they've got to play may catch up with them, and they've got 2 really tough games coming up. Halifax are at Weymouth tomorrow. That'll be it's a long journey. It'll be a tough match just because of the journey, perhaps. I don't know if we're going today or tomorrow. But Bournemouth have got Chesterfield and Wrexham in the next 2 games, so we'll see what they're really made of now, when they might have to come out and attack. We can't just sit back and defend all the time. So yeah, hopefully those games will end in draws. I don't know if I think that's probably the right outcome for all those games. Stockport look like they're in control of the title race now, but it's so tight still between the top 7 or 8 teams, even 9, 10 teams like Dagenham and Grimsby still in outside shots as well. So you know, there's lots to play for in the National League this season. Europe returns this week. With midweek coming, and we have the second legs of Liverpool's game with Inter Milan at Anfield. They should be comfortable after their first leg victory over in Italy, and Manchester City have their second leg game. The Liverpool game's Tuesday. Manchester City's second leg game against Sporting Club of Lisbon is on Wednesday night. They won 5-0 in the first leg, so they should be through really. I don't know what kind of team they're going to play. They can take it easy and play some of the younger lads, I would have thought. Maybe they'll give young Palmer a game up front as well. So it'd be nice to see him play again. He looks a good prospect. They're through more or less anyway. And also the next stage of the Europa League and the Europa Conference Leagues takes place this week. West Ham have their first leg of the next round away to Sevilla on Thursday night. That'll be a tough game for them. It's a tough draw for West Ham. Two good teams there. It'll show how good West Ham actually are and how much they've come on from previous seasons. Rangers have got their first leg match at home to Red Star Belgrade, or Crvena Zvezda as you call it in Serbian. And then you've got Leicester who've got their first leg of their Conference League game against Rennes at home on Thursday night as well. So that's where we are with the European games, and that's how we are with the world of football at the moment. We're now going to move on to talk about the Six Nations Championship, and France have tightened their grip at the top of the table after a Liver victory last weekend. They had a convincing 36-17 victory against Scotland at Murrayfield. They've won 3 out of 3. They're still on for the Grand Slam at the moment. They're the favourites probably to win it overall now. England beat Wales 23-19, a close-fought hard battle there at Twickenham. And in the other game, Ireland murdered basically Italy by 57 points to 6. So Ireland and England have won 2 out of their 3 games. They're in second, third place in the table, followed by Scotland and Wales, and obviously Italy at the bottom. No games this weekend. It's a break this weekend. We've got the 2 final rounds of fixtures all culminating on Saturday 19th of March. Moving on to Rugby League now, and Halifax Panthers were eliminated from the Challenge Cup after putting up a brave fight against Fev Rovers on Sunday. They were 16-0 at half-time. 16-0 down at half-time, but they fought back to 16-22 at one point, but eventually Featherstone managed to put over a drop goal. One they had actually disallowed, which was debatable. They reckon it was over, but then he actually scored a drop goal and a last-minute try and goal. I actually saw one of the Halifax tries. Lachlan Walmsley scored 2 great tries, including a 90-yard interception pass try, which I've seen. Past the ground as he scored that try. I could see him celebrating, but I couldn't see the try itself, but then I've seen it on the Panthers Twitter feed, so... great try by him, and I think Jouffre scored the other goal, so 3 tries there for Halifax. Not played much this season. Back in the team, they had an impact on Sunday. This Sunday, they play Featherstone again, but in the league this time away at what I call Post Office Road, which is the proper name. I don't know what it's called now, the Big Fella Stadium, the Chris Moyle Stadium, whatever it's called. But at Featherstone, that'll be a tough match for them. So we'll see how they get on in that game. In the Super League last night, we had a victory for the Rhinos. Leeds Rhinos won 34-18 at Wakefield. This weekend's big games tonight. Warrington take on Catalan at the Halliwell Jones Stadium. That'll be a good game to watch. So Rugby League fans, remember, it's 8 o'clock kick-off tonight to watch that one. So that's where we are with Rugby League. In the world of cricket, the Women's World Cup is underway. It started this morning. I haven't looked at the result of the first game between the West Indies and New Zealand. It'll be over now. But tomorrow morning, 1 a.m, England get their defence of the title underway, and they can't start with a much tougher game. They've got Australia in the first match. That'll be a tough match, having just lost to them in the Ashes series over in Australia. So hopefully the England girls can show a bit of fight and get back on target by beating their old rivals and get the defence off to a good start. And we'll keep you up to date with how they get on during the tournament. Also, the England's men's team have their first test match against the West Indies. It starts at 2 p.m. Tuesday afternoon at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. It'll be a good battle. Interested to see where Alex Lees gets his debut for England and after a good performance in the warm-up match earlier this week. Again, a good performance there also from Johnny Bairstow. So let's hope them 2 Yorkshire lads can get in. And obviously, I don't know if it's true or not, or whether it's the case, but Alex Lees may well be the first Halifax-born cricketer to play for England. Somebody can probably confirm that or not. Maybe someone like Peter Colgan will know the answer to that question because of his links to Illingworth as well and his love of cricket. So that's where we are with cricket. In the world of darts, we had night 4 of the Premier League darts tournament last night, and Michael van Gerwen took his first victory of the season. He beat Peter Wright 6-0 in the final, so that puts him 1 point behind Wright in the overall standings. I think Wright's got 10 and he's got 9. Then we've got Clayton and Price on 8 and 7, so it's tight at the top. And it's, it could go anywhere. We had 4 weeks. That was Exeter last night. We'll move on to Brighton next Thursday. So we had 4 different individual winners of the 4 nights so far. So let's see if we get a 5th winner next Thursday. And finally, I just want to talk a little about Speedway. It's only a couple of weeks to the start of the season now. I'd just like to mention 2 things. One is Josh Orty's got his testimonial meeting at Scunthorpe on the 19th of March. He's a local lad from Murfield, so if you can get along out there to support him at Scunny, please do so. I'm otherwise engaged on that day with Halifax's game at home to Torquay, but I'm sure Speedway fans will go and support him in the numbers if they can. And then we've got a big meeting at Belle Vue. Announced a fantastic lineup for the Peter Craven Memorial Trophy on Monday the 21st of March. get a chance to see Ty Wuffernan in action in England. Very rarely races in Britain, apart from when he's in the GP, and he's riding in the Peter Craven Memorial Trophy. Hoping to probably lower the covers of 3-time winner Jason Doyle's also taking part. You'll also get a chance to see riders such as Niels Christian Everson, Matti Zagar, Max Frick, Robert Lambert also making a very rare UK appearance these days. And you've got the Belle Vue lads. You've got Dan Bewley as well, who's going to be defending his title. He won it last year, so he's making it again because he won't be riding England this year. You won't get much chance to see him this year in the UK. And you've also got other riders like Charles Wright taking part, so it's a good lineup. Something for you to enjoy, and tickets are on sale now. Just go to the Belle Vue website to get your tickets for that event. Okay, I think that's about it for this week, so plenty there to chew over really, and I'll be back next Friday with an update on what's been going on this forthcoming week, and we'll be looking at what's coming ahead next week. Obviously we're not far off the Cheltenham Festival now, and that will be the middle of the week following, so I'll be looking at that next weekend and previewing things about that. So until then, it's bye from me, and see you all next time.